Today we're going to be talking about what Trump has been talking about over the past couple of days, and one of the most controversial areas is obviously vaccines and one-dose vaccines, and the recommendation has been to start to put those vaccines into smaller doses over a longer period of time, which is absolutely great. But one of the other areas that he came up with was a recommendation with JFK Jr. on Leucovorin and what that substance can do for autistic children in terms of helping them get better. And that's how it's been put in the media. However, from our side, from my side, brain development side, from your side, from a nutritional perspective, and how the body can particularly take in those types of substances, because they are a foreign substance, they're not natural, use them and then apply that to any of the symptoms that we see. I'd love your opinion on Leucovorin.
Yeah, cool. I love to talk about this. And I've had so many patients message me about this since Trump's statements come out. And so, yeah, it's been a lot of sort of education around it. So I think just firstly to say that it's amazing that there's this awareness now that autism is this condition that can be helped in several different ways, and that there are interventions that are possible for a child with autism, and that's being spoken about at this high level. I think that's like so amazing for our community in general. I think it's a really positive thing. However, I think that sometimes the healing process and the body, that's such a complex, intricate, exceptional thing, is very oversimplified, and I think sometimes it can be really misleading and confusing for parents. So what I want to talk about is kind of like Leucovorin and like the reasons why that is recommended, and then think about autism and actually all of the multifactorial things that make up an autism diagnosis, not just one thing, which is this like deficiency of folate in the brain. And so first of all, Leucovorin is folinic acid, and it's a form of folate, basically, that so in the body and brain, we need folate for many things. And one massive thing that it does is it helps with cognition and brain development and speech. And the reason it does that is because it's really important in myelin formation, which are like the insulation of your brain cells. So like folate's really important for that reason. So I'm not taking away anything from the fact that your body does need folate. It is an essential B vitamin that your body requires. However, if we think about, let's just go along the line of what autism is. Autism is caused by many compounding factors. It isn't just a folate deficiency. As you know, Lara, and as I know when I work with children in practice, and actually I never touch Lucavorin. It's not something that I recommend. We're looking at children who have had injuries from specific insults. That might be infections, it might be medications, it might be vaccines from a really young age. You've got gut issues from a really young age. There might be autoimmunity that's inherited from parents, in utero, sorry, not prenatally, but yeah, the same thing. But while they're in the womb, they're inheriting like auto antibodies that are impacting brain function. So we've got all of those areas, and then you've got other underlying things. You might have genetic mutations, and that isn't to say that autism is genetic, but there are specific mutations which mean that detoxification possibly isn't as adequate as we would like. And then you've got methylation impairments also. There's so many factors that make up what we see as an autism diagnosis. And as you and I know, when we're in practice daily, if we go along a really sort of logical, nice kind of gentle timeline of and peeling back layers which are individualized to that human body, you can peel back all of the symptoms that we see. And we know this because we've done this with our own children, in terms of from an autism perspective, our children were once profoundly autistic, and now probably if you went to have an autism diagnosis now, would not get that diagnosis. And so there's so many things that make up this area. And so thinking about Lucavorin, I think it's really important to sort of tell the parents and educate everyone on why Trump has made this decision and why this has been put into force. So there's this there's a condition called cerebral folate deficiency, and that is really common in autistic kids. So, of course, if you have cerebral folate deficiency, it means that folate can't get into the brain very well. And you know, those folate receptors won't let folate into the brain. So if we go like under that a layer and dig deeper into like the human body and think about, okay, well, why is cerebral folate deficiency there in the first place? In most cases, it's an autoimmune condition. So cerebral folate deficiency is basically a folate receptor antibody. And what does that even mean? So an antibody is something that your immune system creates towards something that's a foreign invader. So what your immune system is effectively doing is creating an antibody towards your folate receptors. Well, okay, so if we put high dose folinic acid in, are we just going to sort of are we just leaving the immune system in this like constant attacking itself state? That's not unhelpful. And of course, I just want to say that there's so much to talk about on this, but with Leucovorin, some children will improve on that. It's not, will it reverse autism symptoms? Probably not, because the underlying causes of autism are not just folate deficiency and not just cerebral folate deficiency. But so what we need to think about is like the broader body and health. And so do we want to just put like a plaster on something and a high dose supplement that the body then has to process? And if we think about like Lucavorin as well, you know, with when you put in a high dose of something like that, you're changing genetic expression. Is that helpful in terms of like long-term health? We don't know. Like when we're tweaking genetic expression to that level, it's like, you know, do we know what impact that would have on something like cancer in like 20 years time? There's no long-term studies on this. So from that perspective, I just think that, again, it's like, you know, we're all looking for this magic bullet, aren't we? We're looking for this kind of like one pill that can fix our kids. And it's just so much more complex than that. And it just doesn't work like that.